All is now set for the commissioning of Dangote Refinery's 650,000 barrels per day facility, as President Muhammadu Buhari, which experts say will change the country's consumption and importation pattern of petroleum products. 8 years in the saddle and under 2 national assemblies, tonight we take a look at how the 8th and 9th assemblies fared under President Muhammadu Buhari. Bandits killed 9 persons in burning Gwari local government area of Kaduna, while an explosion from a welder's shop in Sokoto has left at least 4 persons dead. And Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky says Bakhmut is not occupied by Russia after a Moscow-backed mercenary group laid claim to the disputed city. We start off now. Well, the stage is indeed set for the commissioning of a 650,000 barrels per day capacity refinery built by Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals. The refinery, which will be commissioned by President Muhammadu Buhari on Monday, boasts of a number of firsts. According to the company's chief executive, Sanjay Gupta, it is the largest single-train refinery in the world, and will be churning out premium motor spirit, or PMS, diesel, that's AGO, aviation jet fuel, and dual-purpose kerosene, DPK, among other refined products. The plant, arguably Africa's biggest oil refinery, is expected to create more employment opportunities for Nigeria's teeming population, address the shortage of foreign exchange, among other benefits to the economy. Ahead of the commissioning, experts are already predicting that the coming on board of the refinery will change the dynamics of the country's importation and consumption of petroleum products, among other benefits. One of these experts is economist and chief executive officer of financial derivatives company, Mr. Bismarck Rwani, who in this interview with our correspondent, Laddie Williams, says the country's economy stands to gain a lot with the coming on board of the refinery. He started by addressing the ownership of the refinery.
Called the Dangote Refinery, and the shareholders of that company are well documented and known. Secondly, it doesn't matter whether the majority interest resides in a particular group, individual, or family. The whole idea is that it's an investment that will generate revenues, increase productivity, and have wider positive implications for Nigeria. It's a milestone, like I said. It's a milestone. It's an economic milestone. It's also an industrial milestone for Nigeria and West Africa in particular. So I think it's something that is worth celebrating while we actually begin to reap the benefits in the days ahead.
All right, so putting more clarity to who owns the refinery, we did hear the NNPCL has about 20% stake. What stake does the government have in the refinery?
I think NNPC, for accuracy, NNPC was supposed to acquire 20% of the equity stake in the company. And that is actually, it achieves 2 things. 1, diversification of ownership, and 2, also hedging against the risk of lack of supply of crude to the refinery. So by ceding 20% of the equity interest in NNPC, which with all due respect, is going to be a quoted company in the Nigerian Stock Exchange. So Dangote Refinery will be quoted. NNPC, the investor with 20%, will also a quoted company. And all of these shares are available to Nigerians at large to participate in this attempt to democratize capital.
So there are reports the NNPCL will be supplying about 300,000 barrels of oil to the Dangote refinery from next week. What is the implication of this, around pricing, and how much of that, would the Dangote refinery be sending out in terms of export?
Okay, let's get some facts clear. 1, Dangote's single-train refinery has the capacity to refine 650,000 barrels a day. That's the capacity. 2, Nigeria's domestic production, according to OPEC, not export, just for domestic consumption, is 500,000 barrels. That is what we produce every day and send through Trafficura, Vitol, and others to go and refine for us and bring back into the country. So if if what you're saying is accurate, it means of the 500,000 barrels a day, which is meant for domestic consumption, 300,000 barrels of that is being sold to the Dangote refinery for refining domestically. So it's just saying that rather than give 500,000 barrels straight up to Trafigura, Vitol, or Glencore to take to Rotterdam to go and refine for us and bring it back as refined products, 60% of that is now being given to the Dangote group to refine for Nigerians. That's what it means. The question of subsidy doesn't arise at this time. What it does mean, and the reality is that oil is sold in dollars, the transportation that is refined in dollars in Rotterdam, the transportation of the crude out, the finished product back into Nigeria, everything is dollarized. The dollar landed cost of this product, right, multiplied by the official exchange rate, depending on what exchange rate you use, will give you the landed cost of petrol, which today is probably around 4 or 5, I don't know what the figure is, while the selling price today, the average selling price of petroleum products in the official window is about 189, 220 in some places, and 230 in others. So let us assume, for the sake of argument, that the landed cost of a liter of petrol is actually 700 or say 600 naira, and you are selling it at 220, then what happens then is that there will be a subsidy of 600 minus 220, which essentially is about 380 naira per liter, right? So what the proponents, including myself, of subsidy reduction or subsidy removal is that the landed cost at the official rate of, at the rate of exchange should be the, plus a margin should be the price at which we buy petrol. One, it guarantees supply. Two, it reduces downtime. And thirdly, it makes it unattractive to smuggle the product out of Nigeria.
So, of what benefit, is a refinery to the government, and the economy of Nigeria at large? What do you see, happening going forward with the Nigerian economy?
Now, let's get one thing clear. The commissioning and let me put it this way. Let's get one thing clear. The completion of the Dangote refinery is not a silver bullet that will solve all of Nigeria's petroleum and foreign exchange problems. It's a significant milestone and a necessary condition for positioning Nigeria for growth and increasing productivity of its people. Therefore, it is not a silver bullet. It's not sufficient to guarantee anything, but it will have the following implications. One, it increases GDP growth just by its output. Two, it increases, because it reduces the downtime, people going to queue up in petrol stations, it increases labor productivity. Three, it increases total factor productivity. Four, it increases export earnings because we are servicing and selling refined products across the region. Those countries are going to pay Dangote refinery and Nigeria in particular with hard-earned dollars, right? It does not solve Nigeria's foreign exchange problem totally. It helps, it goes a long way and puts us on a path towards what we call optimization of economic resources in Nigeria.
In part two, after the break, saddle and under two national assemblies, tonight we take a look at how the 8th and 9th assemblies fared under President Muhammadu Buhari. To join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. All is now set for the commissioning of Dangote's 650,000 barrels per day capacity refinery by President Muhammadu Buhari, which experts say will change the country's consumption and importation pattern of petroleum products. Bandits killed 9 persons in Beningwari local government area of Kaduna, while an explosion from a welder's shop in Sokoto has left at least 4 persons dead. And Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky says Bakhmut is not occupied by Russia after a Moscow-backed mercenary group laid claim to the disputed city. Staying with infrastructure, the federal government has commissioned enforcement and security facilities for the nation's maritime industry. The facilities, which include 5 new patrol and security boats and form part of the $195 million Deep Blue project aimed at boosting the nation's maritime security, were commissioned in Lagos today by the Minister of Transportation, Mr. Muazu Sambo. The minister says the projects were part of the government's commitments to good governance and institutionalized policies for improved maritime safety and security. On the spot, the Director General of NAMASA, Bashir Jamo, said the expansion of its security assets will intensify the internal security on the waterways, taking into cognizance the recent cases of oil theft.
Today's ceremony serves to further reinforce our commitment, as the projects to be commissioned are directly tied to the mission of NIMASA, which is to achieve and sustain safe, secure shipping, cleaner oceans, and enhanced maritime capacity in line with best global practices towards Nigeria's economic development. To be commissioned here today are 5 state-of-the-art enforcement platforms that will ensure strict compliance and adherence to the extant laws governing the operations of our maritime domain. These platforms will give NIMASA the much-needed tools required to function as a maritime administrator in line with the protocols and conventions of the International Maritime Organization and the International Labour Organization, to which NIMASA represents Nigeria as its contracting partners.
While we had our vision set on achieving something great, we simultaneously took cognizance of the damaging impact of piracy, kidnapping of seafarers, smuggling, illegal oil bunkering, robbery, sea and illegal and unregulated and unreported fishing has had on our maritime sector. Beyond the strides at overcoming the maritime crime at the goal of gain, the management of the maritime administration put more attention in ensuring that we maintain steady and straightforward outlook on building our own infrastructure, so that we can have a very safe local transportation and all the leisure activities in our internal waters, as well as enhancing our own revenue generation.
To security now, at least 9 persons have been reported killed by bandits during an attack at Ungwana Dakwa village near Dogondawa ward in Birnin-Gwari local government area of Kaduna State. Now, a member-elect for Birnin-Gwari in the State Assembly, Mr. Yahya Birnin-Gwari, who confirmed the attack, told our correspondent via telephone that the bandits stormed the community at about 2 p.m. on Saturday and immediately opened fire on the innocent residents who were going about their daily activities. He said that some villagers sustained varying degrees of injuries during the attack and were rushed to hospitals at neighboring Funtua in Katsina State for treatment, while most of the villagers have fled their homes due to fear of a fresh attack by the bandits. In Sokoto, the police has confirmed the death of 4 persons following an explosion from the shop of a local welder in Isa local government area in the troubled Eastern Senatorial District of the state. The spokesman of the Sokoto State Police Command, Sanusi Abubakar, confirmed that the explosion occurred this Sunday afternoon. Now, the police spokesman also revealed that 3 people sustained injuries and are in critical condition, receiving treatment in an undisclosed hospital in the state. An estimated 700,000 children are at the risk of malnutrition, according to humanitarian agencies in Borno State. This is blamed on the conflict in the northeast region of the country, natural disasters, and the high cost of living, among other factors. Our correspondent, Emperor Simon, visited one of the nutrition centers in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, for where he reports that the number of malnourished children is on the rise.
Frail and weak, 10-month-old Abubakar's life has been threatened by severe acute malnutrition. He is one of the children at the MSF Stabilization Center in Maiduguri, battling for survival under the watch of their mothers.
We only have small portion of rice and maize available to eat with our children.
Between January and the middle of May this year, more than 2,000 children have been admitted to the facility.
There are currently 138 patients of severe acute malnutrition with complication on admission here at this MSF facility. At least 250 cases without complication are being enrolled and admitted into the outpatient therapeutic program on a weekly basis.
As health workers try hard to save the lives of the children, they are concerned about the surge in the number of malnourished children at a time when food production is not yet at its lowest ebb.
We see children from 1 month up to 10 years of age. So these children, we see them here and stabilize them. They come with all sorts of medical complications from diarrheal disease, respiratory infections, pneumonia, and even central nervous infections, meningitis, and what have you.
The cohort keeps on rising every week. And then this is because we are anticipating our peak season is approaching, so we're expecting more when the rainy season starts.
Armed conflict in the northeast region has disrupted livelihood, with consequences such as increased poverty, food shortage, and extreme hunger. Humanitarian workers say at least 700,000 children in the region are underweight.
We don't know if we will be able to cover all the needs, because also the other actors in Maiduguri and also in Borno State are quite stretched out, because also there's a problem in terms of funds. The nutrition cluster was mentioning that this year, so far, only 26% of funds has been secured. And it is quite alarming, because if we don't have donors that come in and support this type of activity, and because we are pretty much the safety net at the bottom, will be very catastrophe probably.
An estimated 4.5 million people in the northeast are in need of humanitarian aid, according to the United Nations, and there appears to be an urgent need for more support from donor agencies as mothers watch with vanishing hope the life of their children hanging in the balance. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
In the last 8 years of the Buhari administration, the executive had completely different relationship with the two assemblies which ran during the tenure, or his tenure rather. Well, in this report, our National Assembly correspondent Linda Kibe takes a look at the relationship between the President and the 8th and 9th Assemblies, chronicling the high and low points.
In the 8 years of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, two assemblies, the 8th and 9th Assemblies, held during his tenure. Now, these two assemblies had distinctly different relationships with the presidency. In the 8th Assembly, the National Assembly and the presidency were at odds with each other, and the genesis of this was the emergence of the principal officers of the National Assembly, contrary to the wishes of the ruling All Progressives Congress. At the inauguration of the 8th Assembly on June 9, 2015, Senators Bukola Saraki and Ike Ekweremadu dramatically emerged as Senate and Deputy Senate President. Majority of APC lawmakers-elect were absent on inauguration morning, ostensibly attending a meeting with the leadership of the party. Almost the same scenario played out in the House of Representatives. An election was held for the Speaker and Deputy Speaker. After the votes were cast, Mr. Yakubu Dogara emerged as the Speaker of the 8th Assembly, defeating his opponent, Mr. Femi Bajabiamila, in a keenly contested election. Mr. Yusuf Lassun was elected as Deputy Speaker.
I perform my functions honestly. I perform my functions honestly to the best of my ability, to the best of my ability.
The APC wasn't pleased with the outcome, insisting that Senator Saraki and Honorable Dogara were not the choice of the party. This set the tone for the relationship between the 8th Assembly and the presidency, and the acrimony spanned the entire lifespan of the Assembly. Both arms of government locked horns several times in the next 4 years. They disagreed over the annual national budget, with allegations and counter-allegations of budget padding.
A lot of issues of padding of the budget.
Nigerians will not forget in a hurry the barricade of the National Assembly complex by operatives of the Department of State Service on August 7, 2018, in response to the defection of the Senate President and the Speaker to the opposition PDP.
Enough of this running from the actual police! They would have been assassinated every day! Police cannot do anything!
The impasse reached a crescendo during President Buhari's presentation of the 2019 appropriation bill, where he was heckled and booed, the first in the history of the Nigerian parliament. The turbulent relationship also affected the enactment of critical legislations. President Buhari rejected several bills sent to him for assent, including the much-anticipated Petroleum Industry Governance Bill, which the 8th Assembly passed after years of failed attempts, and the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, which President Buhari rejected 4 times.
As we approach a new democratic setting, we hope that we will have an executive legislature that will not always be constantly fighting, because we must understand one point, and that constant fighting with the executive or friction with the executive is not just the hallmark of legislative activism, but engagement on policy issues in the interest of the country is also very vital.
The criminous relationship between the executive and the National Assembly cast a long shadow over legislation and governance in the country. President Buhari was sworn in for a second term on May 29, 2019, and the 9th Assembly was inaugurated on June 11, 2019. The ruling APC was not going to allow the scenario that played out in the 8th Assembly. The party very early selected its choice for candidates for the principal offices and rallied legislators to support them. Senators Ahmad Lawand and Ovie Omagigi were elected as Senate and Deputy Senate President, while Mr. Femi Bajabiamila was elected as Speaker and Mr. Idris Wase emerged Deputy Speaker unopposed. One of the early concerns raised by keen observers of Parliament was the likelihood of a 9th Assembly not asserting its independence. Critics hinged this concern on how the major principal officers of the National Assembly emerged, particularly as it appeared that they were personally handpicked by the party and by extension the presidency. This perception has trailed the 9th Assembly throughout its lifespan.
This is the National Assembly that didn't make any pretense about being in bed with the executive. It didn't make any pretense about being the rubber stamp.
9th Assembly, as enacted in our agenda, is a National Assembly that works for Nigeria. We are not and will not consider ourselves, and we do not consider ourselves as an opposition element within the government.
Perception or not, the 9th Assembly was largely peaceful and devoid of the drama that trailed the 8th Assembly. This atmosphere probably gave the 9th Assembly impetus to pass some key legislations, return the country to a 1-year budget cycle, and amend the Constitution. President Buhari assented to some of the bills, notably the Electoral Act and Petroleum Industry Bill. These legislations are appreciated by the citizenry. However, some still fault the 9th Assembly for ineffective oversight of the executive.
If you look at the request of the president for loan approvals, they didn't receive robust legislative debate and argument so that the country as a whole can understand the purpose of the loan, the need for the loan, and there has not been any single rejection of requests for loan approval, even when there was a huge outcry by the country.
A brand new administration will be coming on board on May 29th this year, and the 10th Assembly will be inaugurated on a yet-to-be-announced date in June. Regardless of how the 10th Assembly will choose to engage with the incoming administration, Nigerians will be looking forward to a crop of parliamentarians who would prioritize national interest and be more proficient in finding solutions to the challenging economic and security problems in the country. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, says a federal high court in Abuja last week ordered the federal government to account for the spending of $460 million Chinese loan to fund the failed Abuja closed-circuit television, or CCTV, project. In the suit preferred against the federal government by SERAP, the court also ordered the government to publish the total amount of money paid to Chinese, local companies, contractors, and specific details of the names of the companies and contractors and status of the implementation of the project. Justice Emeka Nwite made the orders while delivering judgment in a Freedom of Information suit by SERAP, which follows the disclosure in 2019 by the Minister of Finance, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, that Nigeria was servicing the loan, and stated no explanations on the status of the project. Now, the rights group explains that accounting for the spending of the $460 million Chinese loan is in the interest of the public. Ahead of the May 29 swearing-in of the President-elect, Bola Tinubu, Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State is urging him to ensure he assembles only people with capacity, character, and track record of performance into his cabinet, irrespective of their political background. Governor Wike was speaking in Kaduna State at a public presentation of the book, The El Rufai Years. The governor also weighed in into the crisis rocking the ruling party over its zoning arrangement for leadership positions in the 10th Assembly. He advised the aspirants to respect the decision of the APC and the president-elect in their choice for the National Assembly leadership in order to enable the incoming administration succeed in delivering its campaign promises to the people.
Dignitaries from different parts of the country are seated inside the Umaru Musa Yaradua Hall in Kaduna State, attending a public book presentation titled Putting People First, The El Rufai Years. Some of the guests attending the event include the Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, Governor-elect of Kaduna State, Senator Uba Sani, business mogul Prince Arthur Eze, who doubles as chairman of the event, traditional rulers, top government officials, and captains of industry. The chairman of the occasion and the book presenter, the governor-elect of Kaduna State, highlights the leadership qualities of Governor Nasir El-Rufai, the man who he will be succeeding in a few days' time.
He's a straightforward human being. That's why we admire him. He doesn't care where you come from, whether you are Igbo, Hausa, or Yoruba. He gives out.
My administration will build on the giant stride of the Governor Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai administration, creatively and innovatively further raise the bar of governance in Kaduna State.
Governor Nyesom Wike hails the honoree and the All Progressives Congress for their stance on power shift to the south. On his part, Governor El-Rufai highlights the political ideology he shares with his River State counterpart.
Governor El-Rufai was one of the APC governors who came out boldly to say, look, for the unity of this country, for this country to move forward, let the presidency go to the south. After all, he has all it takes to also say, I will fight for the president of this country.
The interesting thing is that everything he said about me also applies to him. We're exactly alike, unfortunately for Nigeria. We say it as it is. We don't care whose house is God. And we are both committed to doing what is right.
Ahead of the May 29th swearing-in of the president-elect, Governor Wike sets the agenda for the incoming administration and why the APC must get the National Assembly leadership right.
I think that the APC should see it for the interest of Nigeria. Let them respect the leadership of their party and the president to move forward.
The book, Putting People First, The El Rufai Years, written by a Kaduna-based journalist, Emmanuel Ado, is a compilation of published articles and interviews focusing on El Rufai's 8-year tenure as appraisal of his core values, mission, and achievement as governor of Kaduna State.
All right, we now head back to our review of the presidency and the National Assembly's relationship in the last 8 years. And earlier I spoke with public affairs analyst J.D. Ojo on the performance of the 8th and 9th National Assemblies vis-a-vis their relationship with the executive. I started by asking him to compare the president's relationship with the two assemblies.
As far as I'm concerned, the 8th and 9th National Assembly have different features. Remember the frosty relationship between the Senator Saraki-led National Assembly from 2015 to 2019, due to the way both the President of the Senate and the Speaker of House of Reps then emerged, and they were more or less persona non grata with the leadership of APC and even within the presidency. However, they still achieved some modest result. So to an extent, yes, you can say the relationship was adversarial somewhat, given the fact that they belong to the same party. However, one of the pitfall of that Saraki's presidency was cutting deals with the opposition, making sure that the deputy president of the Senate, Ike Ekweremadu, is from the opposition just for him to get his way. And that didn't quite, that didn't go well with the leadership of APC as well as the president. So it was more very tense, a very frosty relationship. But they achieved, nonetheless, they achieved some modest result.
Now, the perception that the 9th Assembly was a rubber stamp to the executive has lingered throughout the lifespan of this assembly. Is this a fair opinion, if I may ask?
Yes, they were more collaborative, they are more cooperative, but I don't think they were the rubber stamp, because there were tense moments. The issue of Naira redesign was very contentious between the leadership of National Assembly and the presidency. Aside from that, even on the ways and means, the National Assembly did not just pass the ways and means, they asked for details, and it took quite a while before they give the final approval for that ways and means. Even when the president was signing the 2023 budget, he still reminded them that unless they signed this, that Nigeria was going to pay a lot more in terms of debt servicing. And so they reluctantly have to pass it. And don't forget that there was revenue shortfall. So the president needs a lot of revenue, a lot of resources to be able to deliver on infrastructure.
How should the 10th Assembly engage with the executive to ensure that the parliament properly oversights the executive going forward?
I would just advise that the 10th National Assembly needs to do something to be able to overhaul its oversight functions and to be more effective. In fact, there is an indictment that the reason why corruption still thrives in Nigeria was because of lack of proper oversight by the National Assembly. Because you have committees that are supposed to oversight these institutions, these ministry, departments, and agencies. If they have done their work thoroughly, they should have detected those leakages, those fraud, before they happened. And look at the Committee on NDDC. They conducted a probe, but where did the probe lead us? After the probe, there was a forensic audit that was carried out. Nobody has been able to say the final report from the auditors. And this is not good enough, given the freedom of information, given the open government partnership that Nigeria signed on to.
A leading manufacturer of high-quality portable power stations, Blue T, has donated more than 100 Blue T P-Series solar home systems to the Yaba College of Technology in Lagos. The company says the project is part of its corporate social responsibility with the objective of providing solar-powered lighting solutions to students of the college. Tagged Lighting an African Family CSR project, the initiative focuses on improving the lives of underprivileged families by providing them with solar-powered lighting solutions that are both cost-effective and environmentally friendly.
As part of its vision of creating a minimalist portable power station that seamlessly integrates into everyone's life, Blue Tea has gifted at least 100 P-series solar home systems to Yabatech. The solar system enables 6 to 10 hours of lighting, refrigerator, watching 10 hours of television per day. But there is more.
BT is known for what? Their battery system. They don't just use any battery, and these are the advantages of what they have in their solar portable power stations. They have a BMS system, which is the battery management system that helps to protect the battery during usage. There's no fear of what? Overheating or fear of what? Explosion and anything. And this BMS system helps to what? Monitor and regulate the charging and discharging of the battery to make sure that the battery lasts for as long as what? Provided by the what? Manufacturer, which is Blue Tea.
This corporate social responsibility by the company features a donation of at least 100 solar systems to Yabatech.
The Blue Tea is having the first launch in Nigeria, and it happens to be in Yaba College of Technology. You agree with me that to give out 100 of these to our students is a plus to our center, it's a plus to Yaba College of Tech, and it's also a plus to these wonderful students that are seated here.
But that's not all, as students are also gifted with 100 Home E40 solar home systems. 3 raffle draw winners are also smiling home with a portable device.
With these, I can actually light up my hostel. I can also take it home and use it in my house, in my comfort zone. I can actually read at any time. Notwithstanding the dark, having to cheat the dark, because with light, everything is possible. Thank you so much. You guys are so wonderful.
During examination period, I think this is going to help the student effectively. And they said that during the night classes, there might not be light. It's going to help them positively and be a blessing, not a distraction.
Despite this donation to Yabatech, Blue Tea says it remains committed to providing energy storage solutions for every household, as well as create a clean and independent energy storage for all humans. The Lighting an African Family project is a testament to the commitment to giving back to the community and supporting the Sustainable Development Goals.
GAC Motors and Cars 45 have signed a trade-in partnership to provide a better car buying and selling experience for Nigerians. Through the deal, customers now have the opportunity to swap their old GAC cars and experience the features of a GAC vehicle.
On a quest to ensure every Nigerian has a GAC experience, GAC Motor is entering yet another strategic partnership with Cars 45, powered by Gigi. The trade-in partnership is a significant step for both companies and will provide Nigerian car owners the opportunity to swap their old GAC cars for a brand new GAC vehicle via the Cars 45 platform.
We've created a platform for people that are using GAC car over the years, 7 years, 6-5 years, to bring their car back and swap it into a new one. That car that you're bringing back to swap will be evaluated by Car 45. That car will go on the Car 45 platform, and users of vehicles in Nigeria will be able to purchase these cars on the Car 45 platform.
The coming together of both parties aims to revolutionize the way people buy and sell used cars in the country.
We see that this is as a significant milestone for both companies, combining our expertise in used car market with GAC Motors' exceptional range of vehicles. Through this partnership, we will substantially expand our inventory. We will get Cars 45 will get access to GAC Motors' impressive lineup of vehicles, including sedans, SUVs, and other vehicles, enhancing the choices available to our customers.
GAC Motors' partnership with Cars 45 goes hand in hand with the recently launched GAC Car Swap program. And the end goal is for both parties to combine their strengths and expertise to create a better car buying and selling experience.
A premium alcoholic spirit Siemens Schnapps has launched its Unlock Your Blessings campaign to underscore the progressive change blessings bring to people. The brand says it is empowering people to open their path towards greater blessings and fulfillment.
Acknowledging blessings helps humans recognize the positives in their lives, and Grand Oak Limited, makers of Siemens Schnapps, seek to enhance that attitude.
Siemens Schnapps identifies with
The brand unveils Unlock Your Blessings campaign, which highlights the universal desire for blessings among the people.
You travel and come back, it's a blessing. You sleep and wake up, it's a blessing. You eat and our food goes through your body without any problem. It's a blessing. And for us, look, it's easy to get lost in what is happening around you, especially with the desire of I want house, I want building, those things are good. But the reality also is that if you appreciate everyday blessings in your life, it further gives you that courage to move on and achieve greater things.
The campaign encourages Nigerians to find their paths towards being blessed and celebrating small wins.
The campaign is not basically just to promote Siemens as a brand only, or to get a whole lot of consumer to get excited about the brand, but to get consumers themselves to be very much conscious of those small wins in their day-to-day lives that we don't pay or necessarily pay attention to. But what we're trying to tell them today is all those small wins are very much more important for them to acknowledge, for them to continue to strive towards achieving in order to get those big wins. And that is what Unlock Your Blessing is all about. And the key message we are telling people is one, acknowledge those small wins, and at the same time, strive to make your blessings happen.
We are talking about making your blessing happen, and if there is anything about the youth, it's about actualizing their dreams. And we as brand is coming to tell them that appreciate the little things you have. Appreciate your everyday moments. Appreciate your little winnings, okay? And that is the start of unlocking your blessings.
Siemens Schnapps says it will continue to be a conveyor of blessings and strengthening hope in a lasting and meaningful way.
Outside our shores, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has dismissed reports that Bakhmut is under the control of Russia. President Zelensky was speaking during a visit to Hiroshima, Japan, for the G7 summit after a Moscow-backed mercenary group had claimed control. At a press conference on the final day of the summit, Mr. Zelensky refused to provide precise details, but said the city was not occupied by Russia. He compared Bakhmut to Hiroshima, which was hit by an atomic bomb in World War II, promising a similar reconstruction of his country. Meanwhile, violence broke out on the sidelines of the G7 summit in Hiroshima on Sunday as riot police wrestled people protesting the meeting of world leaders. The demonstration was organized by the far-left extremist Revolutionary Communist League National Committee, which denounces the G7 summit as a conference of imperialism for nuclear war. The G7, comprising the US, UK, Canada, France, Germany, Italy and Japan, and 8 other nations, are meeting to discuss the war in Ukraine and other foreign policy points, including their relationships with China. In football, Nigeria's Flying Eagles begin their campaign at the FIFA Under-20 World Cup with a 2-1 victory over debutants Dominican Republic. Coach Ladan Bosso's boys conceded an early goal after their opponent scored from the penalty spot in the 23rd minute through Edison Ascona. A combination of an own goal from Guillermo Rosario and a goal from Samson Lawal in the 71st minute gave Nigeria the victory despite the nervy moments in the game. Nigeria's next game will be against Italy on Wednesday. In the English Premier League, Manchester City FC celebrated their EPL title, beating Chelsea by a goal to nil with an early goal by Julian Alvarez, the Argentinian, in the team's home finale at the sun-drenched Etihad Stadium. Treble-chasing City, who wrapped up the title when Arsenal were beaten by Nottingham Forest on Saturday, have won 12 successive games in the top flight. They have 88 points from 36 games, 7 more than Arsenal, who have played 37 matches. City were crowned champions for the third season in a row and fifth in 6 years, a day earlier than expected, when Arsenal's 1-0 defeat doused any hopes the Londoners had of catching them. And the main news again. In about 12 hours from now, President Muhammadu Buhari will be commissioning the 650,000 barrels per day refinery built by Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals, which many experts say will change the country's consumption and importation pattern of petroleum products. Our bandits have killed 9 persons in Birnin-Gwari local government area of Kaduna. Well, that's the news at 10 tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. From all of us here, it's good night.